Hello legal-minded friends, and before we start this video I want to give a big shout out to our friend Duty Ron for reaching the milestone of 500,000 subscribers. Well done, we're so proud of Duty Ron. So if you haven't checked him out already, be sure to check him out. And yeah, so congratulations Duty Ron, we're so very proud of you. Let's get started.
This is the afternoon of January 29th, 2022, correct?
Correct.
Before the vehicle had been seized formally by Trooper Proctor and Sergeant Bukhenik, correct?
Correct.
Did you observe anything of note about the rear end of that black SUV?
Yes, I noted in a report that there was damage to the taillight.
Can you describe for the juror, by the way, which taillight are we talking about?
The right rear taillight.
Can you describe for the jurors what you noted in terms of the damage to the right rear taillight?
I noted that the report said that there was right rear damage to that taillight.
When you say damage, have you ever described that damage previously?
I have.
Can you tell us what that description is?
There was, it was damaged, the taillight was damaged, but there was a crack missing, but it was not completely damaged.
When you say there was a crack, do you mean there was a piece missing?
A piece was missing.
Can you describe for the jurors kind of what that piece looked like, how big it was, how small, the shape, as you call it?
The piece was about maybe this big.
Is that maybe the size of a dollar bill, maybe 6 inches?
6 inches.
And how wide?
Maybe that wide, maybe 3 inches, 2 inches, somewhere in there.
I want to show you a photo. Your Honor, with the court's permission, I would like to show Exhibit 13. It's been previously marked. Do you see what's depicted in this photograph?
I do.
What does that appear to be, just generally?
The right rear taillight.
Of what?
The Lexus SUV.
Is that consistent with the black Lexus SUV that you saw at the Reed residence?
That was the black Lexus. That was not the taillight the day I was there.
Can you do me a favor, Mr. Wolk? With the court's permission, could we zoom in on the right rear taillight, please?
Okay.
Do you see the condition of that taillight as it's depicted in this photo?
I do.
Sergeant Barros, is this the condition of the right rear taillight when you showed up at the Reed household at around 3:15 in the afternoon on January 29th, 2022?
Absolutely not.
What's different about this photo, sir?
That taillight is completely smashed out.
Does it appear that there are additional pieces of taillight that are removed from this taillight condition than when you saw it at the Reed residence?
Objection. Sustained. Ask it differently, Mr. Johnson.
Of course. Describe specifically, other than the fact that it's different, describe in detail for the jurors what is different about this taillight as it's photographed here.
That middle section was intact when I was there. Towards that right side, where that large chunk is, that's what was missing.
If you can, there's two displays, one monitor directly in front of you and one to your right. If you could use the one to your right, it's a little easier on the jurors. Describe what's different about that taillight.
Can you see that? So this area was intact. This is what I saw was missing here.
Well, that gave me chills, as that's pretty clear. He said the taillight did not look like that. So why are we here? Let's listen to the lead investigator from the first trial.
By the defendant's vehicle, you mentioned some damage that you observed to the right rear passenger side area. Is that correct?
Yes.
Can you describe to the jury what it was specifically that you observed as far as damage to that area of the vehicle?
Yeah, the right rear taillight had such large pieces missing from it.
So you're probably wondering, why didn't the prosecutor in this trial call former state trooper Michael Proctor? He clearly saw that the taillight was broken in large pieces. That's what he said, right? And the Dighton Sergeant Barros, Nicholas Barros, well, what did he say in the first trial? Let's have a listen.
All right, whenever you're ready, Mr. Lally.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Could you please state your name and spell your last name for the jury?
Nicholas Barros, Barros.
And how are you employed, sir?
With the town of Dighton.
And what, if any, role or what do you do for the town of Dighton?
I'm a police sergeant for the police department.
And how long in total have you been a member of the Dighton Police?
In total, started in 2011, 14 years this December.
And how long have you had the rank of sergeant with the Dighton?
Year and a half.
Now, if I could direct your attention to January 29th, 2022. Do you recall that date?
I do.
And were you working that day?
I was.
And at some point, did you make any observations of the right rear part of that Lexus SUV?
I did.
And what, if anything, did you observe about that area of the vehicle?
I saw that there was some damage to the right rear taillight. To my best ability and recollection, that taillight was not completely damaged. It was cracked, and a piece was missing, but not completely damaged.
And then beyond the taillight area of that vehicle, what, if anything else, did you observe as far as damage to the rear passenger side area?
Like a dent on the rear quarter.
And as far as the dent on the rear quarter of the panel that you saw, was that above the taillight, below the taillight, or something else?
It's probably right in conjunction with the taillight in that same area.
And from the time that you made these observations of the vehicle, at any point did you go sort of physically up to the vehicle?
I walked up to the vehicle, correct.
And about how far away from the vehicle did you get?
5 to 10 feet away.
And as far as the sort of outside or exterior of the vehicle, you mentioned obviously there's about a foot of snow on the ground. What, if anything, precipitation-wise or weather-wise, was around or on the outside of the vehicle?
Just snow.
And in particular, in this area of the right rear passenger side and that taillight, was there any snow or ice or anything around that area that you observed?
On the vehicle itself?
Yes.
Yes, on the vehicle there was snow on the vehicle.
And not to put words in your mouth, but sort of caked on there, is that correct?
I guess you could say caked on, correct.
Out of those of us who've seen the first trial, were you sitting at the edge of your seat saying, show 'em, show 'em, show 'em? What? If you know, put it in the chat. While I'm here, can you please check that you're subscribed? Like this video and share it. Okay, let's go back to the current retrial.
The piece that you saw missing, but not completely damaged, is the reason that you use the phrase not completely damaged to highlight the fact that there was still more taillight attached to the vehicle than is depicted in this photo.
Sustained.
We can take this down. As you sit here and recall back to that, your observations, and you observed this for over the course of how long would you say? How many minutes?
Probably 20 minutes or so.
You actually wrote a report about this, correct?
Correct.
And you documented your observations, correct?
Correct.
In your documented observations, did you use the phrase cracked but not completely damaged?
I did not.
Sustained.
You've testified previously,
I have?
about a year ago.
Yes.
Did you use the phrase cracked but not completely damaged then?
The objection sustained, Mr. Jackson.
The prosecutor has objected again, and we're left to guessing why, as in this court, the judge does not allow the reasons for objecting to be on the public record. So are we to assume that, it's been asked and answered? I don't know if it has been, but I'd like to know what he said in the first trial. We have the benefit of rewinding because I played it for us already, but let's listen again. And did he say it was cracked in the first trial?
And at some point, did you make any observations of the right rear part of that Lexus SUV?
I did.
And what, if anything, did you observe about that area of the vehicle?
I saw that there was some damage to the right rear taillight. To my best ability and recollection, that taillight was not completely damaged. It was cracked, and a piece was missing, but not completely damaged.
I don't know about you, but are you starting to wonder if the prosecutor is not looking for the truth? Let's watch Alan Jackson and see how he gets the answer that he wants.
You testified previously,
I have?
about a year ago.
Yes.
Did you use the phrase cracked but not completely damaged then?
The objection sustained, Mr. Jackson.
Ultimately, was the black Lexus SUV towed and cleared from the scene?
It was.
Is it your responsibility or part of your responsibility to log the time that things like this happen, like, for instance, the SUV is taken away?
When I cleared from the scene, yes.
What time was that when you cleared the scene?
I believe it was 4:17 p.m.
Suffice it to say that SUV was not seized at a later time, correct?
Correct.
It was not seized at 5:30 p.m.?
No.
I'd like to show you another exhibit, if I could. This is Exhibit 105. Do you recognize this scene generally?
I do.
Do you recognize it as being, what do you recognize as being?
This is the Reed residence.
Do you see some vehicles in that still shot of the video?
I do.
Describe what you see.
That tow truck is Diamond Towing, and that other vehicle that's at the rear of that tow truck is the Lexus SUV.
If we could, with the court's permission, zoom in. It's high on the screen, correct?
What's that?
The vehicles are high on the screen as we're
Correct.
looking at it. Could we zoom in to the top left portion of the screen?
Okay.
Can we play this video?
Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor. Can you see what's depicted in the still image of that video right now?
I can.
I'm going to ask you if you'll turn to your right, concentrate on this area. This area here. Do you see what's depicted in that still image?
I do.
Does that appear to be a taillight?
Yes.
Does it look clear? Does it look like it's shining red?
Looks clear.
The portion that is intact, does that appear to be brighter red?
Correct.
And the photograph that I just showed you a second ago, is that red portion there?
Can you rephrase that?
Sure. Let's go back. You see the red?
Yes.
All right. Is that the condition of the taillight as you saw it on January 29th around 3:15 or 3:30 when you got to the location?
It was.
Let's go back to the other exhibit, please. Exhibit 13. Can we zoom in, please? Can you see that this entire area is now missing?
I can.
Sustained. Just ask it differently.
Sure. The area that I'm circling here, do you see any red lens in that area?
No.
Is that consistent, this photograph consistent with the condition of the taillight as you saw it on January 29th, 2022, at just after 3 o'clock in the afternoon?
Absolutely not.
Thank you.
Lights, please. Thank you.
Now, I just want to play a segment of what the prosecutor had to say on cross-examination. And you tell me, is this looking for the truth? When you think about it, Sergeant Barros was only there as a courtesy because fired Proctor Trooper Michael had to go into his jurisdiction to seize Karen Reed's SUV. So let's have a watch of that, and then I want you to tell me your thoughts.
Write a report in this case, didn't you?
I did.
And when you did, you had an opportunity to describe the damage to that taillight in any way you wanted to.
I did.
You could have gone into detail about size of the damage.
I could have.
You could have gone into detail about the shape of the damage.
I could have.
You could have gone into detail about the width of the damage.
I could have.
You could have taken photographs of the damage if you wanted to.
I could have.
In fact, there was no limitation on what you could have written in your report regarding the damage, was there?
No.
You write reports regularly, don't you?
I do.
You're trained at the academy. It's the best way to memorialize events.
Correct.
Because in time, your memory is not always as good later on than it is at the moment.
Correct.
What might be important or remarkable later might not be remarkable at the time you're making the observation.
Correct.
So you're taught at the academy to use as much detail as you can so that you can have an accurate memory later on.
Correct.
Because oftentimes, well, you respond to a number of different events and incidents, don't you?
I do.
You write a lot of reports.
Not necessarily now in this position that I'm in, but
Did you at the time?
at the time, correct.
Yeah. And so it's sometimes difficult to remember the details of all events, and you use the report to refresh your memory.
Correct.
When you wrote your report, and you could have put as much detail as you wanted, is it fair to say you only wrote one single line about the damage to the car?
Correct.
The vehicle had damage to the right rear taillight.
That's what I wrote.
Fair to say you didn't document that it was the size of a dollar bill. You didn't say that, did you?
No.
Or that it was 3 to 6 inches? You didn't mention that, did you?
No.
You didn't mention the placement of where the damage was?
To an extent, I did the right rear tail light.
Right rear tail light. You didn't indicate if it was on the side or on the back?
I did not.
You didn't provide any other details of your description when your memory was probably at its best. True?
True.
And would you agree that your memory that day was probably much more accurate than it is today?
I would not.
When you wrote the report, did you ever have an opportunity to write a supplement report if you wanted to give more detail?
I guess I could.
You didn't.
I did.
Inevitably, you were a witness at trial. I'm sorry, you were a witness at a prior proceeding in this case, weren't you?
Correct.
You came in and you swore under oath regarding your memory.
Correct.
And that was probably a year to a year and a half after you first made the observations which you reduced in writing in the police report.
Correct.
And when you made those observations, that was on January 29, 2022?
Correct.
When you came into court and you testified, that was on June 10, 2024.
If that was the date.
You were asked questions to use your best memory to describe the damage to that taillight last time you swore under oath to tell the truth, weren't you?
I don't think I was asked that.
But were you asked to describe the best you could the damage to that right rear taillight last time you were in court on June 10, 2024?
I don't think I was told to describe it in depth.
Were you asked questions about the damage to that rear taillight last time you were in court?
I was.
And when you described the damage, did you do your best of your ability to give as much detail as possible?
I did.
Did you qualify your memory at that time, saying to the best of my ability and recollection?
I did.
And when you qualify as a police officer with the best ability and recollection, that is recognizing that time had passed,
Time has passed, yep.
that you had a report, that you could refresh your memory.
Correct.
And did you refresh your memory with that report before you testified last time?
I did.
And when you qualified that it was to the best of your ability and recollection, that account for the fact that when you looked at the report, there was no detail other than your commentary in your report that the vehicle had damage to the right rear taillight.
Correct.
And so when you qualified, you were considering human factors like time had passed,
Correct.
that your report was respectfully scant,
Correct.
that you had heard a lot about this case since that point, hadn't you?
Correct.
And so considering your memory in June of 2024, when you qualified your answer, was it considering all of those different factors that had passed in between that time?
Can you rephrase that?
Yes. When you decided to qualify your answer, and you said to the best ability and recollection, and then you went on to describe what you remember from the break of the taillight, the reason why you used that qualification to the best ability and recollection, is it because of those human factors that had passed?
I would suppose so. I testified that that was not the taillight the day that I saw it.
That's what you testified at the last event?
Did.
Yes?
Yes.
You said that photo does not depict what you saw?
Correct.
Yes?
Yes.
And when you testified to that at the last event, who was asking you that question?
District Attorney Lally.
Okay. And you remember making that comment under oath?
I do.
Do you remember that as well as your memory about what the taillight looked like back in Dighton?
I do.
When you were asked questions about that taillight, you had described the taillight as not completely damaged, it was cracked, and there was a piece missing but not completely damaged. Remember that testimony?
I do.
And is that accurate testimony?
It's accurate.
In June 10, 2024, was that vehicle's rear taillight had a piece missing, correct?
Correct.
You said that your memory about the damage to the taillight, as you recall it when you were in Dighton back on January 29, 2022, you said your memory is as good as your memory that you said in court there was a difference between that photo and the damage, right?
Right.
Have you ever read your testimony from your last proceeding?
Never.
But you have a specific memory of discussing that specific photograph. Yes?
Yes.
May I approach?
Yes.
I'm going to show you your transcript of sworn testimony on June 10, 2024. And when you reflect on your memory, understanding some time has passed, you've testified that your memory of distinguishing that photo is reflected in your testimony, right?
Objection.
So ask the question differently.
Okay. Your memory is that you discussed the distinction between that photo and what you saw at the last time you testified.
Objection.
I'm going to allow that.
And I should take a look at it. Could you show me anywhere in your testimony? Anywhere. Where you made...
Now, I'm going to stop it right there because this is embarrassing. If a prosecutor lies in court, several potential consequences can arise, including professional discipline, dismissal, or a new trial of the case, and even criminal charges in serious cases. So, if you want to know the exact moment when the prosecutor lied to the witness, go back to around 1756 of this video. The prosecutor lied. He put words in Sergeant Barros' mouth that he did not say. There was no photo shown to Officer Barros, and the prosecutor knows this. This would be misconduct, and it happened again. And I'll tell you about that in just a second. So basically, there was no photo shown to Sergeant Barros in the first trial. And that reason is because the prosecutor Lally and the defense didn't know what he would say, so no one showed him the picture, the photo of the taillight. So this just happened again. The prosecutor lied to the ARCA witness, Dr. Wolf, when he was talking about the holes in the back of John's shirt that were actually caused by the criminologist when they were taking samples. And if you want to watch Duty Ron, he is going to be covering that. So, yeah, watch that because this is pretty serious when a prosecutor lies to a witness. By leaving a comment, you may help someone else that will read your comment. And of course, I love to read all comments as they are valued, and together we can be more informed. And this information may help you or someone you know. In the meantime, on this channel, you'll find a variety of playlists to suit every curiosity about the justice system. And we provide you with a visual to information and the process. Going through a legal worry is devastating, and the Who Knew and Why Me playlists are designed to help you or someone you know. So please like this video if you like this kind of content. Hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you want to be notified when I'm going live or upload another video. I'm Karen Cole from Legal Minded Friends. Information is power, meaning if you know something, you can make decisions that are right for you.